The 2021 tax season is currently underway, and one topic I have found to be hot in this year is working from home and the concept of home office expenses. If you aren't aware of that, basically, if you worked from home last year and you met certain requirements that are set out by SARS, you could actually be allowed to claim a deduction against your income for tax purposes. That's what I want to be chatting about in this video. Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. My name is Mpho Makhubele. I'm a chartered accountant, and over here I like to discuss all things business, all things careers, and sometimes a little bit about life. I don't know what today's topic falls on, but we are chatting income taxes and how if you work from home, certain expenses that you would normally write off as your personal expenses such as your rent, expenses such as interest on your bond, could actually be claimed as a deduction for tax purposes. I want to touch on how you qualify, who qualifies, how we determine that amount. We will look at examples of those expenses that could actually qualify, and we will look at long-term implications of the decision that you take today to claim or to not. At the end, I also just want to chat a little bit about my opinion on, or my thoughts rather, on how SARS can improve or make the claiming process more inclusive. Now, if you're into that, just stick around, and I hope you find this video useful. I also need to mention before we go any further, I'm not a tax practitioner. I'm sharing this more as a conversation starter or just to make you aware. And if you actually do qualify, if you believe you qualify, then I would recommend actually getting in contact with someone who does this as their job. I will speak as plainly as I possibly can, but if you do have more questions, you can have a look at the link. If you want sort of like free type of opinions, not advice in any ways, you can let me know of your comments in the comment section below, and we can keep the conversation going. So firstly, who qualifies? Well, you must have worked from home for more than 50% of the year of assessment last year. And if you've passed that, then we can have a look at SARS's requirements for actually claiming. There is 3 requirements that I basically look at as 2. So first of all, you must in your home have a room that's dedicated for your work. A room that you have set up solely for the purpose of working and conducting your employer's business, for your trade, basically. The room must be used exclusively for work. We will come back on that. Secondly, if you earn income in the form of a salary, then you must have done 50% of your work in this room, right? If you earn a commission and some sort of variable income, then you will need to have worked 50% outside of an office that's provided by your employer. So 3 requirements that I'm just going to go over again. First of all, you must have worked from home in this room or office, home office that you've set up exclusively to do the work that you do. Secondly, if you earn a salary, right, you must have worked 50% of the time regularly in this office space. If you earn a commission, then you must have worked 50%, more than 50% of the time outside of a working space that's provided for you by your employer. In a nutshell, that's it. I want us to go back to how SARS speaks of exclusive and regular use of this working space for work, right? Regularly basically means more times than not. So if you are someone who has an office space, or maybe as we were allowed to start going back when things, lockdown restrictions were lifted, if you worked in your office 4 times and at home once, you can't claim. When it comes to exclusivity, if you use the office for work, but then also your kids played in that room, then that's not exclusively for work. If you, let's say for example, use this office, you set it up for your work, but also your husband or your wife uses the same office, they've set it up for their work. One desk on that side, another desk on another side. SARS says, as per the examples, that neither of you have set up the office for their exclusive use. So basically, I can't claim because the office is not exclusively set up for my use, And also my husband can claim because the office isn't exclusively set up for his use. Obviously, this is just an example. I'm not necessarily speaking of myself here. The other examples that we could think of is when you're working from your dining room chair, table that you also eat from, when you're working from your couch that you also watch your TV from, when you're working from your bed that you also sleep in. All of those things aren't exclusive use, even though you could be regularly working in those spots. SARS may say, you can't claim. That's not exclusively for work purposes. So what type of expenses qualify for this deduction? I've mentioned rent and interest on your bond, rates and taxes, repairs and maintenance related to that office, electricity, I think, but basically expenses that you're incurring, printing, telephone, all of those expenses that you could be incurring for work purposes in this home office, you can claim. I want us to work on an example, nothing technical at all, but let's say you spent 1,000 rand on rent for your whole space. Your office, which is separate and is an office that you exclusively and regularly use for work, is 10 square meters. Your house in totality is 100 square meters. So 10% of your house is your office. You've met all of the other criteria as per SARS has communicated. So basically you could claim 10% as a deduction, right? So you've got your rent, 1,000 rand every month. You worked for the full 12 months at home. So 12,000 rand at the end of the year. 10% of that, 1,200. 1,200 is what you can actually carry through to your IRT12 or your income tax return. How do you actually file? So if you look at your tax return, there's a form wizard which asks the question of, did you claim travel? Did you do this? Did you do that? One of the last questions is whether there's any expenses that you would like to claim for, that you've incurred, you'd like to claim for, that weren't covered by the form, right? You tick yes on that. And when we go down to the deduction section, you will see there is an area for, so it's other deductions, right? And the home office expenses one is source code 4028. That's basically where you put in the amount that you calculated. So in our example, the 1,200 apportioned value is what you put through here, and basically get a deduction out of your income. Last thing that I want to touch on is capital gains tax implications. So basically, if you have a home that you use as a home, it's not for business purposes, it's your primary residence. SARS says that if you sell this home, the first 2 million rand capital gain that you make is tax-free, right? This wouldn't be the case if you actually claimed for home office expenses. What SARS says is you should actually then apportion your home for what is for business and what is your primary residence. So if in this case you claimed that 10%, right? 10% is your business, so then the remaining 90% is what your home is. When you actually get to when you actually sell your house, you have to apportion for that business aspect versus what's for your 2 million rand exclusion. There is a calculation that I will link in the comment section, and I also have here that you can look at, but basically it just takes you through how you would have the amount that you sell your house for, you would have the expenses that you've incurred in relation to that house, and then it gives you your gain. And then that gain, instead of having the first 2 million rand tax-free, what has to happen is you have to apportion that gain for what's business and what is personal. I feel like this section could be just confusion for you if you're not necessarily understanding the technicalities of tax. But what I just want you to know is it's not as easy as, oh, I want to claim because it's more money in my pocket now. Do consider the longer term implications of whether you decide to claim now or not. Obviously, if you're renting, this doesn't necessarily impact you, I would believe. If I'm wrong, do correct me in the comment section. But also remember, I did mention I'm not a tax practitioner. I just have 4 letters behind my name. So if you are renting, like I just said, you may not have issues. You paid rent, you claim a deduction from SARS, you move out when you do in the future. If you own your home or you have a bond and you want to claim interest expenses, then do consider that. So that's it for the technical bit. But what I wanted to chat about now is more of my opinions and things that I think SARS could maybe reconsider to just make the space more inclusive and allow everybody that work from home and that want to claim for this expense to actually do. So the first one obviously is the fact that you must have a room that's exclusively for work. It can't be a dining room table, it can't be a little corner in your bedroom that you've set up. And in all honesty, all of us were required to work from home. All of us actually did incur the additional expenses, electricity costs, you name it, things associated with working from home. But the issue then becomes, because you don't have a separate office, then you can't claim for it. And I think that's one thing that maybe going forward, or even in an environment that's a COVID environment, SARS could have relaxed that requirement to have a separate room that's exclusively for work. They could have come out and say, if you have set up some office, however it looks, and you are doing work from home, and you are incurring all of those additional expenses associated with working from home, then you can claim. Still a proportionate amount in relation to the size of your property or your home. Right, that's just the one thing. And I guess still linked to that is how, as we worked from home, our kids also studied from home. So if you're going to say that the room must be exclusively for, even if you've set up an office, but if you share it with your partner, then none of you can claim because it's not exclusively for trade or for the one person's trade. Or if you had the room, but your kids were also homeschooling from the room, playing in the room, you basically were supervising them as you can't claim, because then that room isn't specifically or exclusively for the purpose of your trade. So that's basically my beef with the whole thing. It just sounds like it doesn't accommodate everybody, whilst we all did work from home and whilst we all did incur these additional expenses. It's just that I don't have a room that can only be used for office. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Actually, I hope it was informative, and I hope it was just what you needed to start having the conversation with the tax practitioner, or to get your taxes done if you don't have a budget for a practitioner. Until next time, keep well.